want?
I told you about a superhero whose biggest weakness is kryptonite.
Kill Martha!
Another superhero, or even his own powers.
Of course you can.
Homelander is the most powerful man on earth, a god among humans, a man who can do whatever he wants.
I'm the Homelander, and I can do whatever I want.
But that's exactly what makes him so fascinating. Because despite having everything most people dream of, power, fame, influence, and admiration, he's completely miserable. And that's because Homelander isn't really a villain. He's a broken child that's trapped inside a god's body. Unlike most people, Homelander never had a normal childhood. He wasn't raised by loving parents. He wasn't taught empathy, trust, or emotional connection. He was raised in a lab, treated like a product instead of a person. From the very beginning, people cared more about what he could do than who he was. Imagine growing up being told you are special every single day, but never feeling genuinely loved. That's the foundation of Homelander's entire personality. Most people think he's confident. He's not. Real confidence doesn't collapse when someone criticizes you. Real confidence doesn't need constant applause. You see, what Homelander has is something psychologists call fragile superiority. On the outside, he's a god. On the inside, he's terrified that he's not enough. That's why the smallest act of rejection affects him so deeply. When someone challenges him, they are not just disagreeing with him. They are attacking the identity he spent his entire life trying to protect. And that's where power makes everything worse. Most people think power solves problems. If you are insecure, more success should make you confident, right? Wrong. Power doesn't fix what's inside you, it amplifies it. For normal people, life gives us consequences. We get humbled, we fail, we learn. But Homeland doesn't have that luxury. Nobody can really stop it. Nobody can force him to reflect on his mistakes. So instead of growing, he spirals. Every time fear works, he becomes more dependent on fear. Every time intimidation gets results, he learns the wrong lesson. Over time, fear becomes the only language he knows how to speak. But here's the tragic part. Homelander desperately wants love. The problem is that he doesn't understand what love actually is. He mistakes obedience for love, admiration for love, fear for love. Because real love requires vulnerability. It requires letting people see your weaknesses. And Homelander would rather laser a building in half than admit he is vulnerable. So he keeps chasing validation, hoping it will fill the emptiness inside him. It never does. That's why he keeps getting worse throughout the series. He's stuck in a cycle. Someone rejects him, he gets angry, he justifies his actions, he uses fear to regain control. He feels better for a moment, then the emptiness comes back, and the cycle starts all over again. What's truly terrifying is that Homelander doesn't think he's evil. In his mind, he's the hero.
You're not the real heroes. I'm the real hero.
He believes he's protecting people, and that's what makes him dangerous. The scariest villains aren't the ones who know they are monsters. They are the ones who think they are saving the world. And that's why Homelander is such a brilliant character. He proves something most people don't want to admit. Unlimited power doesn't heal insecurity. It exposes it. Because no amount of strength, fame, or control can fix a person who never learned how to love themselves. In the end, Homelander isn't terrifying because he's powerful. He's terrifying because he's human. Underneath the cape, the smile, and the laser eyes, he's a lonely child still searching for something he's never had. And no amount of power can ever replace that.